back up. Today is the 16th of August 2022. Now is the time to train our hearts and minds to give birth to knowledge and wisdom. And wisdom in the Buddha's dispensation is this quality of knowing, this all-around knowing sankharas, conditioned formations, according to truth. And sankhara is rupa and nama, materiality and mentality, or form and name. This material form is these bodies of ours, composed of earth, air, fire, and water. This is form. And nama, or name, is these qualities of feeling, tone, perception, mental formations, and sense consciousness. This is nama. And these are all sankharas. So we practice to know and see them according to their truth, the truth of how they are. We see, well, how are sankharas? We try to understand that. We see that all sankharas have the characteristic of arising, persisting for a little while, and ceasing. And the Buddha taught the group of 5 ascetics that all conditioned formations, all sankharas, arise, stay for a while, and cease. They're impermanent. They can't be sustained. They can't last. They can't be controlled. And given that, is it appropriate to call them me, mine, you or yours, to call them a self? Is that right? And the 5 ascetics answered, that's not right to call it as self. And so the 5 ascetics saw the truth during this Anatta-lakkhana discourse, the discourse on the characteristic of not-self. And they attained to not-self, the not-self of name and form, materiality and mentality. So we see that suffering arises because of a lack of wisdom. So we have a certain type of wisdom through studying in school, learning various subjects, learning about our livelihood, and thinking and how to do our work well. But this isn't the kind of wisdom that can cure the suffering in our hearts, because our minds have qualities of busyness, distractedness, annoyance, irritation, anger, ill will, doubt, sleepiness, and drowsiness. And these are qualities that cover over the mind such that peace and collectedness don't arise. So the wisdom in the Buddha Sasana requires the mind to be trained in peacefulness and samadhi. So we know the breath as it goes in and out, reciting But on the in-breath and Do on the out-breath. This is able to bring our minds to peace and samadhi. Or we think and contemplate that all conditioned formations are impermanent, that having been born one must die, that life is uncertain, death is certain. This is also able to bring the mind to samadhi. This is a shamatha kammatthana, a tranquility meditation object. Or we contemplate the body to see it as something unclean, that it's covered over with the skin, hair of the head, hair of the body, nails and teeth. But inside of that covering, it's all unclean, it's all unattractive. There's blood, there's lymph, there's the lungs, the liver, the intestines, the heart, and so on. So we see if we open up this body that there's nothing beautiful inside of it. We just look at the outside and we see it as something beautiful. But this feeling of beauty, it arises from delusion. So we contemplate it as something not beautiful. This can bring the mind to samadhi. This is another shamatha kammatthana, tranquility meditation object, then when the mind is peaceful already, we see it arise and cease. We see that the breath arises, stays for a little while, and ceases. This is Vipassana, the practice of clear seeing. Or we see all the feelings in the heart, like anger, aggravation, annoyance. We see that whatever thoughts we have, they're not my thoughts, that it's delusion in the mind. We can say it's like a monster or a demon in the mind. So when we know this, we see these thoughts in this way, then don't act on them, don't follow them, don't speak based on such thoughts, or don't do bodily behaviors based on such thoughts. This is the quality of virtue. This is having wisdom as well. So we practice to know these sense objects in time as they arise, to see them as impermanent, as uncertain, to see this all the time, to see them all as impermanent and uncertain. So may you train your mind in this way, to give birth to wisdom, to know conditioned formations according to truth, according to reality. And so we chant that old age, sickness, and death are normal. It's something that we chant regularly. So old age is normal, sickness is normal. Nowadays we can also say COVID is normal. We see the situation in the world with COVID or whatever the situation is, we see it all as normal. And if we see it as not normal, then when the people we love get sick or die, or we just have fear arise and worry arise about people that we care about. But if we see it as normal, that whether it's this disease or that disease, we see it as normal. And the disease that we experience every day is the disease of hunger. Or if we don't sleep enough, don't rest enough, this is another type of disease. Or if we eat the wrong kind of food, what doesn't agree with us, our stomach hurts, or we could have diarrhea, and we could die from that. And so this isn't having COVID, it's dying from something else. But whatever it is, we contemplate it as normal. And we do our best to take care of our lives. And when we see it as normal, then suffering doesn't arise. Because whenever we cling to anything, that's where suffering arises. Luang Pu Ginari was teaching Luang Pu Cha that suffering arises because of clinging. So if we practice clear seeing, seeing impermanence, seeing uncertainty, see that whether the mind has liking, we see it as impermanent, as uncertain. Or the mind has disliking, we contemplate it as impermanent and uncertain, just this much. Wisdom arises right here. So try it out for yourself. Practice like this. You see that a food that one likes a lot, if you eat it every day, you get tired of it. So you see that it's uncertain. The feeling in the heart changes. Or the people that we like, one day it can happen that all of a sudden we don't like them. So it happens like this. So we see that it arises from proliferation. So may you be careful with this, to train the mind, to teach the mind. The things we get lost in is this clinging to material form and mentality. So we have wisdom, we practice to give birth to wisdom, we have faith to cultivate merit and goodness, to practice generosity and virtue first and foremost. This is something that's not easy to do. Some individuals, they have the qualities of generosity and virtue, then they want to ordain. But their parents are worried about this. They see that if their child ordains, they'll be separated from their child. They feel the pain of separation. They may think that it's not my child anymore, but this is wrong thinking. This is not correct. It can happen that a senior monk may live in another country from their country of origin, but they do that which is beneficial and useful to themselves and for others and for their family. But this is something that takes time, perhaps 5 years or 10 years. Then after this point, the parents feel at ease in their hearts. Then the parents themselves may come and train and practice the Dhamma. So one has to be strong and firm in one's heart first. One has to be a refuge unto oneself. Then once one is a refuge unto oneself, one can be a refuge for one's parents and one's family as well. So one must train and practice. In the beginning it's difficult, but we keep practicing. We just do it. We make it possible for ourselves to practice. And then when these good qualities, these wholesome qualities arise in the heart, then we're able to teach our mother and father and teach our family as well. We see that our family, our parents, they get these good things as well that we get. So first we have to train and practice in our own hearts first, and then we can help others as well, to give rise to wisdom, to give rise to Dhamma understanding, to seeing the Dhamma. The mind gathers together. The qualities of Sila, Samadhi, and Panya gather together. They're able to win over the delusion in the mind, to succeed over the monsters and demons in the heart. This is something that's possible. But in the beginning, one has to have patient endurance, to have perseverance, to endure. So may you all set your hearts on this.